All right, good morning, everyone. We are going to get started on our mobility session for this week. So today we're doing some lower body mobility focused mainly around the ankle, calf, a little bit of knee, and hopefully this will help a lot of you out. So if you're wearing socks, go ahead and take socks off so that we can get a lacrosse ball in particular on the bottom of the feet, things like that later on in the session. What we're going to start off with is just an assessment of where our ankle mobility is at, okay? So what I want you to do is set up in a nice lunge position with your right foot forward, okay? So notice that as I'm lunging here, my knee is at a 90-degree angle, so 90, and then this back hip is at a 90 as well, so from here down, okay? So both those joints are at 90 degrees. What I want you to do is move that out of the way so you can see just fine. So what I want you to do is send this knee forward over the toes, okay? So line of the toes is right here. I want you to get that knee past that line of the toe. I don't want you to put any weight on the knee. I want your hands to just be back here. You can lean against that leg, but don't put any weight on that knee for now, okay? What I want you to do is just go forward. You can see on my right, my knee goes past the line of my toes, maybe by an inch, 2 inches, somewhere in there. And when you do this, what you should feel is a nice stretch through this Achilles and calf, okay? Go ahead and switch sides. I want you to do the same thing, but I want you to note which one moves more, okay? So again, should be in about a 90-degree angle, so 90 here, 90 here, and send that knee forward. Okay, and it's similar. This one feels different to me. I feel that stretch, but I feel like my heel wants to come off on this side. So if you're going forward and your heel is going like this to get forward, that's not a good thing, okay? What you want to do is you want to keep that heel planted so that your whole foot is making contact with the ground. So think about 3 points of contact: heel, big toe, little toe. All three of those should be on the ground at all times during this exercise, okay? So try again, going forward. Okay, and that's our assessment, okay? So let's go ahead and start with a foam roller. And sit down, put that foam roller out in front of you. There's a couple different techniques that I like to do for calf. Take off my watch so I can put some weight on my wrist. So what I want you to do is put your right Achilles over the foam roller, cross ankle over, and go back and forth. So hips are off the ground. All my weight is on my wrists. And as you're hunting around, what I want you to do is not just move up and down, but rotate that leg as well. Try and find the most sensitive spots, okay? So for me, there's one right here. What I'm gonna do is pause there, put as much weight over that spot as I can, and then just do a couple reps of kind of sawing that tissue back and forth. Even though that sounds kind of gruesome, that's literally what you're doing. You're kind of sawing this stuff back and forth to free up the tissue, okay? Keep on going. And as you get up to the calf, you might feel a spot right where the Achilles meets the calf. I think most people have one there, little trigger point. So do a couple reps of sawing back and forth. There we go. And keep on going. For me, there's one right there. And so I'm going to saw mostly to the inside and do a couple reps to the outside. Ooh. There we go. And get up to the very top of the calf. This might be just a little bit below the knee. And again, saw to the outside. and saw to the inside. There we go. All right. So take a little bit of weight off your arms, shake them out a little bit, and we'll go ahead and switch sides. So start with the foam roller down at the bottom of that Achilles on the left foot. And again, up on your arms. And just go up and down for me. When you get to a sensitive spot, pause, go in and out, saw back and forth. And for me, I'm feeling a nice trigger point as I saw to the inside. So the inner part of my Achilles is going against that foam roller. Remember to keep on breathing as you're doing this. So get the foam roller up where the Achilles meets the calf. Ooh. So remember what I said about this one? I think I said something like, when I did that initial assessment of me going over toes, my left side, the heel wanted to come up a little bit early toward the end compared to my right. So the fact that I'm feeling a little bit tighter on this left side, that's to be expected. And work your way up into the calf, sawing back and forth. Saw to the inside, 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 then go out, 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 and out. And then as you get up to the top of that calf, just below the knee, saw there as well. All right. Now, using the information that we got from that, we are going to pick up the lacrosse ball. Here we go. I'm going to roll this up so you can see a little bit better. So, where the Achilles meets the calf is right here. You can see the belly of the calf right here, how it becomes a little bit wider and then a little bit skinnier. The point where it goes from wide to skinny, that's where the Achilles meets the calf, okay? It's going to be straight in the back. So what I want you to do is with your foot like this, take that ball, just like that, and I want you to kind of saw it back and forth, almost like you're, I don't know if any of you bake, but like you're kneading dough. I don't personally bake, but I watch the Great British Baking Show, so I know what that is. So anyway, go back and forth, knead a little bit, and go up and down. And now move your leg over here so that it's lying down a little bit flatter. You can grab onto it. Really apply some pressure with the ball just like that. You can grab around your leg and hold that ball over a sensitive spot. For me, there's one right there. And just go up and down. Up and down. So a little bit of information on me. This left leg is one that I got a tibial stress fracture in by now probably 4 or 5 years ago. I think it was 5 years ago. And this was when I was still going through grad school for all of this stuff. I didn't really know rehab yet. And so I didn't do really, really good rehab for several months after I injured it. By then, the inflammatory process had just been started over several times. Scar tissue formed in there, and it's been really, really difficult to get out. But years later, there's no more of that, kind of joint noise that used to happen as a result of that scar tissue. So I think most of the scar tissue is gone, but mobility issues still kind of persist a little bit. Like I said, this left leg is where I had some of that stickiness going into the mobilization that we did at the beginning. But it's going away for sure. It's just taking its sweet time. So as you work the ball down to the back of the heel, all the way at the bottom of the Achilles, I'm sticking to just the back, okay? So I'm not going on the inside of the ankle. I'm not going on the outside of the ankle. I'm just straight in the back, okay? So relax that foot, okay? Kind of shake it out a little bit. Relax it as much as you can. Get as much slack in that Achilles as you can, and then push that ball into it. Really reinforce it, and now move. Oh, that's good stuff. Feels like it's really getting in there. And with each spot that you get, you're working away some of that extra tension that's in there. Some of you, if you've had some soft tissue injuries in your ankle, you're going to have some mobility problems. It's just nature of living in a world like we live in. So what I want you to do now is ankle in front of you, just like this, and have your foot, so it's the outside of the foot is on the ground, knees a little bit elevated right here, and so that all this tissue in the middle is nice and relaxed. So when you should be able to squeeze some of that tissue up. Okay, what I want you to do is do that same kneading technique on some of the skin around this medial side of the ankle. So ankle bone is right here, heel is back here. I want you to put the ball in between the two. Okay, and just do some of that kneading, some of that twisting of the skin. Okay, you might not feel much here, but I can assure you stuff is happening. What I want you to do is work the ball from in between the ankle bone and the heel, up kind of in between the ankle bone and the Achilles, okay? So start down here by the heel, work your way up, just going like half an inch at a time. Yep, there's a couple of good spots right in there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna apply pressure, twist, lift the foot up, and just do some of those ankle pumps. There we go, do a couple more twists, really crank the tension up, and do ankle pumps. There we go, okay. Now we're gonna work our way over to the other side, do the same thing that we just did over on the left. So again, you're gonna just have your leg in this position right here and get that ball into the Achilles, kind of kneading some of that tissue. Into the calf a little bit too. And then move that leg down and apply some pressure from the ball through the Achilles and do some ankle pumps. So with this leg, it's actually pretty amazing. So the stress fracture is in the left leg, right leg. Mobility is not too far off, but sensations that I feel when I'm doing those mobility exercises are completely different. This one, I don't really feel a lot of trigger points. There's a few here and there, but not bad at all. The left one, as I was doing this, it was like everywhere was sensitive. No matter where I put the ball, it was always kind of a little bit tense. So if that's you, spend some extra time here. Don't feel like you have to follow the video exactly. Go ahead and pause it if you want. Do a little bit extra, and then you can always come back to the video. So once we get down to the bottom here, make sure to relax that foot. Make sure there's some tension in that Achilles, or some slack in that Achilles. Put the ball in, reinforce it, and go up and down. On this one, I actually do feel this pretty good. Okay. And we're going to do that same thing. So foot is relaxed. Go ahead and knead in between ankle bone and heel. Slowly start to work your way up. Yep, there we go. I feel a spot right there. So go ahead and pick it up, twist, and just some light ankle pumps. And as you're doing this, that kind of pressure point sensation shouldn't just be there the whole time. It should get less and less as you're doing this. Okay? All right, so that's most of what we're going to be doing with the Achilles. What we're going to do now is go to the bottom of the foot. So let me move this down a little bit so that you can see it. So what I want you to do now is stand up and put your foot on the ball, and it should be the ball of your foot. So right behind your toes. What I want you to do is put some pressure here, almost like you're doing a calf stretch. There we go. And when you're in that stretch, so you have a little bit of a bent knee, and you're moving that knee over the line of the toes, just like we did with that first assessment, right? What I want you to do is just go back and forth. Okay? So that Achilles attaches to the heel. All these structures on the bottom of the foot, the plantar fascia, some of the flexor muscles that pinch the toes, all those on the bottom of the foot also attach to the heel as well. Not all of them, but a good chunk of them. So what I do is I call this windshield wipers. It's a good way to not only stretch the Achilles, but then also loosen up the bottom of the foot as well. And literally I start at the very base of the toes, and I just go back and forth just like this. And then every couple of rolls, I'll move the ball a little bit further back. There you go. So while I started at the base of my toes, by now I'm like very much in the arch, and I can really spend some time here getting all this stuff loosened up. And the arch is usually what's really tight on most people on the bottom of the foot. I recommend doing this little routine, especially like if you go out for a run or something, just to do some conditioning, sprints, whatever it might be, jumping exercises. Do this little routine before you go, and definitely won't fix all your problems, right? If you've got an active injury going on, you should consult with us over Zoom. Send us an email to set up an appointment. So it won't make all your problems go away, but it will definitely make it feel a little bit better, okay? So I do this before any kind of run that I do. So now what I'm doing is I moved the ball of my foot down so my toes are touching the ground, heel is elevated, and what I'm gonna do is just do that same thing, starting kind of in the back of the arch and working back toward my heel. Okay, this goes a little bit quicker than the front part of the foot did. So already done. Okay, let's go ahead and start the other foot. So again, put the ball right behind the toes, move that knee forward so you feel a little stretch in that Achilles, and do a little windshield wiper. And as you do this, again, be vigilant. If you did that initial assessment and one foot felt different than the other, notice if one foot feels different as you're doing these mobilizations. If it doesn't, maybe you're not doing the right mobilizations. Maybe you should be doing something else. And again, that's something where you should consult with us. If none of this is feeling like pressure points, but you did have a difference in mobility, one foot to the other, that's not necessarily a problem, but it's something that you might want to just get looked at and make sure that it's not a problem, or not that it's not going to become a problem later. As we're moving this ball back into the arch, feeling quite a bit of tension through here. So I'm going to spend a little bit extra time on that, where the arch meets the big toe. As you're moving that ball back, go ahead and switch to the ball of your foot being down, heel being elevated. And you're just going up and down with this. So another little recommendation, we just had Thanksgiving last week, and a lot of you, I'm sure, are feeling a little bit behind on your fitness goals, right? I know I have been feeling a little bit like, oh man, I kind of took a big step back with that huge meal. One thing that really helps is when you eat a lot of carbohydrates, there's some water molecules in every carbohydrate. CHO is the molecular formula for a molecule of carbohydrate. And so you combine a bunch of CHO and you get H2O and some carbon on the side. H2O is water. And so you get a lot of excess water storage when you eat a really high carby kind of meal like most of us do with Thanksgiving. Go ahead and put the ball just in the arch itself and just go back and forth. So rather than doing the windshield wiper, we're just going back and forth. So a lot of us store a lot of water after Thanksgiving. So it's not like you eat the Thanksgiving meal, you step on the scale, and then you've actually gained body mass, right? I know for me, I stepped on the scale like 3 days after Thanksgiving, and my weight was significantly higher, like seriously, like 6, 7, 8 pounds higher, depending on the day. But within a couple of days, that weight starts to come down as you start to shed some of that water. You get back to a normal diet. So if you did go a little crazy at Thanksgiving, that's okay. Don't feel too bad about it. Definitely got my permission to do it. Just make sure that you are getting back to a good diet that's a little bit more balanced. Control your portions a little bit. A lot of you aren't as active as you typically are because of the quarantine and all of that. Just make sure that you're accounting for all of that when you eat. Don't keep on eating like a regular student athlete if your lifestyle has changed quite a bit, okay? So go ahead and switch to just in the arch and just move that ball back and forth. This one's got some pretty good trigger points for me as well. So one way to shed a lot of that water, oddly enough, is actually to drink water. So the more water you drink, the more water is going to be carried out through your system. So if you've ever like chugged a gallon, well, not a gallon, but if you've ever chugged like a 32-ounce Nalgene, within a few minutes, you have to go to the bathroom like 10 minutes later, all that water just speeds through you. None of it's absorbing, right? So getting back to good hydration is actually a good way to lose water weight. Even though you're putting more water in, you're kind of speeding the digestion process up a little bit. And a lot of that carbohydrate, the H and the O molecule will be carried out by water intake. So it's counterintuitive, but increasing your water intake a few days after eating a really carby meal is a good way to get yourself back to normal. Okay. So what I want you to do now is get into that original lunge position. So we're going to start with the right foot. Same thing as we did before, 90-degree here, and then 90-degree here. And go ahead and lunge forward. But instead of doing this as an assessment, we're going to do it as a stretch. So before, when you did it, you had weight back here, and you just went as far forward as you could, about that heel leaving the ground. This time what we're going to do is we're going to put elbow or hand on the knee. I like putting my elbow so I can really reach it forward. Move that back leg back a little bit so you can really keep your balance. And what I want you to do is go forward as far as you can, really leaning into that leg. And as you do this, then you should feel a stretch throughout all of this stuff right here. Make sure that your heel stays on the ground as much as it can. Okay, and the longer that you stay here, the further down you should be able to go. So it should be slow and steady. You don't want to crank into this right away, but just go slow. Just relax into the stretch a little bit and come up, okay? So allow that tissue to kind of recover from that long stretch by just massaging it out real gently. And go into that stretch again. Here we go. Come up. And now what we're going to do is just pulses to end range. So we're going to start here. We're going to put some weight onto that front knee. Then we're going to go knee over toe, back up. Knee over toe, back up. Knee over toe, back up. And every time that I go forward, I'm going as far forward as I can. Okay, and if you want to even pause at the end to make sure you're getting all the way, that's fine too. Do maybe 7, let's do 8. So that was 6, 7, and 8 pulses to end range, okay? Go ahead and switch sides. So again, we'll start at 90 degrees here, 90 degrees here. And what I want you to do is, again, move that hip back a little ways, put some weight on that front knee, and go forward as much as you can. Okay. Try to have some balance there. Make sure that that heel is staying on the ground. If it starts to come up, you're going too far. Come back and then move forward again, keeping that heel down, okay? So hold that for a little bit. Sorry, I'm not talking quite as much. This one's a little bit harder to do, this side. Okay, come up, give it a little massage. Okay, and go back into it. And hold that all the way at end range as much as you can. Try and just relax into that tightness. Okay, come back up, give it a little rub. And what we're gonna do next is we're gonna do pulses to end range, okay? So make sure to have weight on that front knee. We're gonna go forward. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and hold this last one. Okay. Whew. That's a good one. Okay. So now without any weight on that foot, so try bring that back leg back to that 90-degree position-ish, doesn't have to be exact, and go forward. It feels worlds better on that side. I think I can get a lot further there. Let's retest on this side, see what happens. So 90 degrees on both legs. There we go. This one had no problems before, but now it's even less problematic. So that's pretty exciting. So go ahead and stand up. And last thing that we're going to do is go ahead and do a little standing hamstring stretch. Bending forward. We're stretching out basically, all the tissue just above what we just mobilized. And kind of pulling all of that stuff tight to relieve a little tension in the calves. And so what I want you to do now is go ahead and widen your feet just a little bit. Go ahead and grab onto those toes, okay? So press the toes down into the ground. Obviously, you've got your fingers around it, and lower yourself down into a little squat. And back up, okay? Not expecting you to get into a full squat at all. Not even there, that'd be a little unfair for me to ask. Here, actually, I'm gonna do this not on my mat because it's kind of squeezing the mat around. So grab down there, lower yourself down into a squat. There we go. Actually, away from the mat, I can get into pretty much a full squat. Okay. So just pulse into that squat, then into a hamstring stretch, into the squat, into the hamstring stretch. If you need to be like way out here, that's totally fine. Even with toes pointed out a little bit, that's fine. So that's what that looks like right there, okay? So do a couple more reps. The further in you can get your feet, the better, okay? There we go. Okay. Go ahead and stand up. That should feel pretty good at this point. So go ahead and shake things out a little bit. What I want you to do is just put feet slightly wider than shoulder width apart and go into a squat. Feels pretty good to me. Okay. So that's our ankle mobility session. If you have any questions about anything that we did, or if you feel like you're still lacking and you need a little bit more help, go ahead and send one of us an email. We'll be sure to get back to you, set up a Zoom appointment, and we'll be able to help you out, okay? Hopefully you have a good week, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.